Oh, so we wanted to talk about the most stressful time in real estate, and what no better than an auction. So we had to bring in an auctioneer to talk about that. Gavin Reynolds, stay tuned. We're going to talk about stressful times in auctions and how to overcome them.
Hi, everyone.
What happened?
We're live.
Gav, what happened to the camera went roly-poly?
Wouldn't have been my camera. I'm as upright and standing tall as a man could be.
Well, they always put the good one in the middle and the bookends on the side, mate, you know?
Hey, the frame's got to hold up the Picasso, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So,
All right.
What are we talking about today for our customers out there? What do people want to know?
Say that again. Sorry, Mark.
Glenn, what are we talking about with our customers tonight? What do people want to
Well,
know?
why are auctions stressful? When we have a group of buyers and we say this property is going to auction, they wind up with no fingernails. Oh, I don't want to go to auction. Will you take a pre-offer, auction offer? Why do people find auction so stressful? Buyers. Gav, as an auctioneer, what do you think those reasons are?
Okay. I think people find auctions stressful because they are completely out of their comfort zone. For most people, when they come to an auction, they might have seen auctions on TV, there might have been an auction in their street, but when it's them in the hot seat, it's very likely that that's the first time that they put themselves in that environment. So they don't know exactly what to do, they're unsure of what's going to happen, they don't know whether to get involved or to stay out of it. And I think it's that uncertainty of not knowing what comes next that is probably the stressful part. I actually don't think it's the auction itself. I think it's the anticipation of not knowing what to do.
Well, it's really interesting you say that. I did Google why do we get stressed? What causes stress? And one of the greatest stresses is fear of the unknown, fear of an outcome, fear of what's going to happen next. So when we have a big step in our life, that's also a fear. And when we have something of big financial bearing on our life, that's also a stress. So they're really the three ingredients a lot of people think of when they think about an auction. I don't know the outcome. I could spend too much money and I can't control it. So I think that's like from a sort of couch psychologist's opinion or viewpoint, that's why they find it stressful. What are some of the things they could look at so it isn't so stressful, Gav?
I think what they need to do is they probably need to attend a few auctions before they actually go and bid at an auction, just to see what actually happens. Because as great as things like the block have been for our industry in terms of showing people what auctions can be like, it's not always what an auction's going to be like when people get there. There's not going to be 400 TV cameras. Scotty Cam's not going to be on hand to give them any guidance, those sorts of things. It'll be them by themselves. So I think if they were to just go along and observe a few auctions, that'd certainly be worthwhile. The other thing that they probably need to do is they need to imagine themselves at the time that the bidding has started. Because I'll share with you all an interesting statistic. About 50% of the people that register for an auction ever bid, and I think a lot of that.
Yes.
I think a lot of that abstinence is just paralysis by analysis. They do nothing because they're trying to compute all of the information in one go, and so I think that the auction almost passes them by, and they just are completely like a deer in the headlights, thinking what just happened. Now, that's probably the conversation that they're having with themselves, but with their friends and family. They're saying things like it wasn't meant to be, that one wasn't for us. And I just think it's that they haven't prepared enough, or they haven't sought the advice to actually work out what the best way to approach the auction is.
And Gav, from what you're saying, even just actually having a go, even just the sheer fact of actually making a bid, whatever that may be, as low as it may be enough just to dip their toe in the sand so that it thrusts them forward.
That's a really good point, Mark. I think that how often do we go to auctions, and regardless of whether we've got one registration or 17 registrations, the auctioneer asks for an opening bid and everybody does exactly the same thing, which generally speaking is nothing at all. There's this awkward nothingness. The auctioneer makes some good or some terrible jokes, if that's the only...
Awkward. It's so awkward for everyone. Even people not involved is awkward.
So, and I think as an industry, we've actually got a bit to answer for this. We're probably our own worst enemy here, because what we probably need to do is better inform the buyers about what that's going to be like. Better prepare them for it, talk them through it so they can take themselves on a bit of a mental journey in preparation for it. But if you're waiting for somebody else to do something, if everybody's got that same approach or strategy, then nothing happens at all. Now,
well, that's one of the,
go on, Glenn.
Well, that's one of the that's what makes us stress, no control of the outcome. So if you're not in the process of bidding and you're just going to wait and see, or what will be, that's where the stress comes from. So would you recommend to people starting the bidding?
I would recommend that they start the bidding, but I'm a realist. Yes, I'm an auctioneer, so I have a horse in the race. But yes, I'm also a realist. I don't have an expectation that they're going to decide what their absolute top maximum bid is, and they're just going to put that on the table straight away. I think what they need to do, because generally speaking, they would have had some discussion with the agency team about what the price guide for the property might be, or there might be an advertised guide. So it won't be a huge surprise to them where they need to be in the conversation in terms of the price.
I'm getting some delightful comments about your headphones. I've got the same. I wear them in the office. Lisa Novak says, Gavin and Glenn have the same 1980s headphones.
Well, that's wonderful. That's because they work. Can everybody hear me okay, Glenn? I think that's the important
thing. Well, I can go from prospecting calling to landing a plane at Mascot with mine.
Yes. The alternative is that our esteemed viewers this evening can hear my kids screaming in the background, and nobody wants to put up with that.
Right. So we've said if you're nervous, it might be a good strategy to start and be involved in the process. Is that what you're advocating?
What I'm advocating is that once the fear factor is actually having the first bid. And I'm not talking necessarily about the first bid at the auction, even though that's probably the most scary bit. It's getting involved for the first time. So have a bid so you can see that it's not quite as scary as what you imagined. Now, the auction, generally speaking, will last for somewhere between 12 and 20 minutes. So when you think about it, that's a significant period of time. It's not going to be rushed. The auctioneer, if they are anywhere near professional, are going to give you plenty of time, because they will honour the size of the decisions that are being made, both by the owners and by the buyers. So they will give you the appropriate level of comfort, that bit of brain oxygen for you to decide what you're wanting to do. And if for whatever reason you feel rushed, just ask them for a bit of additional time. Say, can we just have a minute to think about it? They'll give it to you, no problem.
Because that's one of the things, the time constraints. You know, people say, oh, it seems quick and I've got to make quick decisions. Would that be, you should make those decisions before you come and have a plan, or?
Yes. I think people don't feel rushed by the auctioneer or the agents. they feel rushed by each other. Because generally speaking, particularly in residential real estate, you're going to have a husband and wife, or brother and sister, or daughter and father, or whatever the combination might be. They're on auction day together. Now, what I think people don't do enough is have a very open conversation with each other about what they're going to do collectively before they get to the auction. And I refer to this as the you decide ping pong. Because
and you must get that. You must be looking, when you're looking at the couple, you're going, who's deciding here?
Who's deciding? Okay, and know this. I don't know much about marital harmony. Okay, I've got some idea, but I don't know everything there is to know about it. I leave that to Mark and Lisa. But one thing I would say to you is that if you really value your marriage, husband and wife, wife and husband, same-sex marriages, whatever it might be, don't put that level of pressure on each other, because you'll be paying for decades for it if for whatever reason the house gets missed. So don't play the you decide ping pong. Have a very open conversation about, if the bidding gets to here, what are we going to do? If the bidding goes 5,000 more or 50,000 more, what are we going to do? Don't try and do all of that thinking and processing all of that information and decision making at the auction. It's unfair on yourself, and it's unfair on each other.
Yep. Now, some people worry too that an auction, they're going to go crazy and overspend. Is that a concern, do you think?
I think it's a consideration. I don't think it's a concern, because if you follow the advice that I'm saying about this, and you agree with certainty about what the limit looks like and what flexibility you're going to give yourselves and each other on that limit, then you go in knowing that you're not going to get into that fear of missing out kind of situation, because you've already had the conversation. So before you get to the auction, put yourself in the moment. Okay, we set a budget at 1.2 million. It's now at 1,217,000. What are we going to do? Take yourself on that journey.
Makes a lot of sense.
What is, look, I get that when you do something a lot of the time, you're going to get really good at it. So probably the most transactional person at an auction is the auctioneer with that process. Like, they just know their shit back to front. So you would be amazing at attending an auction and bidding at an auction, just simply because you've just been to so many of them. Do you ever get a guy, like, I know today we're talking about buying stresses at auction. Do you ever get a guy or a girl that turn up that are just not stressed and just perform brilliantly when they're bidding? And what does that actually look like?
So yes is the answer.
Yeah.
And they're incredibly considered about what they do. Now, let me give you a sporting analogy. If you look at the most elite sports people in the most elite sports, they look like they've got all the time in the world, regardless of the tenseness of the situation. And auctions are no different, because they've played this game before. And when I say that, they haven't played it on the field. They've played it at training, because they've thought about all of those eventualities. They've thought about, if this happens, I'm going to do that. They've kicked 1,000 field goals. They've landed 1,000 times at gymnastics, whatever it might be. They've done it all before.
So it's
again,
literally the cool, comfortable cat.
The person who thinks about what they're doing. Cause and effect. They're working through it all the time. And can I also say, and this is not always easy, because you've got to nominate one person and give them all the authority in the decision making, but you can be much more efficient when you are there by yourself, as opposed to trying to seek counsel from somebody else, trying to engage in a conversation with somebody else.
Oh, that's my favourite one.
Now, we've had a lot of people have said they love that analogy, but I have had a question actually from one of our lead agents, Gavan. he said, is there the best strategy when you're bidding at auction? Is there a strategy, to go for? Is there a bidding strategy that works better than others at auction? He typed in.
Is there a bidding strategy that works best, Glenn? Is that what you said?
Yep, correct.
It's horses for courses.
Yep.
So again, I can't speak about the Sydney market because I'm just a lowly auctioneer from Newcastle. Okay, but about 40% of the auctions we do, we only have
battler from Merriweather.
Exactly. Well, a battler from a little country town called Berry Park.
Okay.
So, just go with me on this. About 40% of the auctions we just have one single registration.
Correct.
Now,
wow.
the strategy at a one registration auction as the buyer would be entirely different to one where you had 5 or 10 or 15 registrations. So it's horses for courses, and I reckon we could fill up another hour with discussions on that. But get involved is the thing that I would say. The reason I say that is because you will never find that you have captivated the owner's attention more than if you come on auction day and are ready to participate.
Okay.
Because they will know you are genuine. They will know you are sincere, and they will be willing to work with you. They will be willing to work with you. They will honour the fact that you turned up with ambitions to purchase their home. Take advantage of that.
Now, I've got another question. Wednesday night auctions compared to Saturday. Can the day and time affect the result?
And stress.
No. Stress is an interesting one.
That was a long answer.
Yeah. Occasionally, I'm very concise, Glenn. You'll soon come to realise that.
I like it.
No is the answer. I mean, I joke with my guys all the time. You could hold an auction in the middle of June in the centre of Newcastle Harbour on a 4-degree day, and if the property was good enough and they knew that the price was going to be good enough, people would be in their scuba gear heading out there to buy it. It wouldn't matter.
Yep.
But I actually think that there's a lot to be said for auctions during the week. And the reason for that is one of the main stresses for buyers is not actually real estate agent focused. It's not actually property focused. It is accessing their legal representatives for any of those last minute questions. And that is much easier through the week than what it is on the Saturday, because our esteemed legal colleagues, they value their weekends much more than we do.
Well, it's a lot easier to say to a solicitor, hey, I'm going to a 6 o'clock auction. Could I ring you on the mobile? Then I'm, 12. So come. Well, some of the people we work with come. Now, what information? Sometimes buyers feel they don't have enough information to go to an auction. That causes them stress. What would you recommend they ask? What would be their due diligence, would you say?
If I was a buyer going to buy at auction, I would be asking the agent for the comparable properties that they provided the owners when they went to appraise the property.
Right, okay.
That's a killer question.
Right? Because with all this talk about overquoting, underquoting, let's all read from the same hymn sheet. What did you use as a comparable property when you went to appraise the property with the owner?
Yep.
If pest and building reports are available and strata reports, I know we're selling a lot more stuff, especially in your market. That should be a no-brainer for the listing agents to be providing for the buyers.
Yep.
Love it.
So have a strategy, have a conversation, have a what if it goes to this. Find out where the agents think the price is. Have a bid, and don't drink before, I suppose.
No, drink after. Drink after. Regardless of the outcome.
So just entertain me on this, Gav. What does it look like when you go to buy a property for yourself at auction?
Oh, great question.
I occasionally leave disappointed, Mark. The auction gods don't always smile on me. As you said, obviously I'm very transactional. I'm in a lot of negotiations. I'm around a lot of deals.
So you're going to use this. You're going to use this when you go to buy something for yourself. How does that look?
I'll look for the very same indicators that we've talked about tonight. I'll be having discussions with the agents before about exactly what we talked about. What properties did you use as your comparable sales when you went to look at it? I'll ask the agent, what are the contract amendments of some of the other buyers asked for?
Oh, great question.
But when I get into the auction room, I don't need to have control of the situation because I'm well prepared in terms of my strategy, because I've had those very simple thought processes about if this, then that, if this, then that.
Okay. Mark, you've got something to add?
Look, I think much with myself attending to it. Like, I've actually never attended an auction for myself and bought for myself, which is interesting, but been a part of a lot. And I do think that it's a beautiful process, and it's one of the leading processes in the world for purchasing property. There's not many countries that will run auctions at all out of the 200 odd countries. What are there, 200 or 300 countries in the world? There would be probably only a handful that would have a system like ours, as finite as ours. I think we've got to be pretty proud of it. But I can certainly appreciate that for buyers that are turning up, it's a huge transaction. It's finite. It's on one day. You get one chance. But I think given all of that stuff, Gavin, you've summed it up real well. Participate, get in there, know your numbers, know what you can and can't do. I love that question about what are the contract changes that have been requested, so you can find out what other buyers have asked about that contract and about that purchase and timing and stuff that they want to change. There's some huge competitive advantages in the things that you brought up today.
And
can I also just make one other point, which I think is really critical? Buyers all the time will either withdraw from wanting to make offers on the property if they're the only one bidding or if they're the only one registered, or they'll think that the property is enormously devalued, or that's at very least the position that they'll take, that the property all of a sudden becomes worthless and that the owners should accept anything at all for the property. And I actually think that it's a really, really amateur hour way to approach things. The way that they need to perceive it is that they are in this rarefied air negotiation with the owners should they choose to capitalise on it. I just can't stress that enough. They need to see it as an advantage as opposed to for them to actually get a deal done, as opposed to them running away from the property or immediately thinking that it makes the property worthless.
Yeah, got it.
Got it. So, look, that's been really, really beneficial today. I think people can go away and feel a little less stressed from going to auction. Also, they have to remember that often they'll see the property in the first 2 weeks of the campaign. So those things like having a discussion, looking at other auctions, getting all their due diligence in place, getting the information, mastering it all, they might have 2 weeks, 14 days to do that. And if the auction's on a Wednesday night, they might even have their legal advice right up to the point. Where a private treaty sale, you could see it Saturday and be asked to sign a contract Saturday night. There is a bit of a lead in, and the great thing with auction is transparent process. Get involved.
No bullshit, absolutely.
And that should actually reduce the stress because you've got absolute line of sight on whatever it is that's going on.
Yeah, none of this best and fairest and bidding against yourself. You can see where the market is. I think a huge takeaway is if you're the only buyer, you've got 24 hours at the auction where you can negotiate with that owner and buy a property unconditionally and uno or stomp all the other buyers, because Monday they'll come back in.
Well, here's the thing. Let me try and create a bit of a leveler here. You show me one buyer that finds an expressions of interest type purchase comfortable and not stressful, and I'll sell you the Harbour Bridge for $1.
Oh, mate, agreed.
It's incredibly frustrating.
And you know what? Every single one of the people that are bidding at that auction have had thousands of conversations around that property with, like, if you think about it, the lead up towards that, just the amount of conversations you've had with your partner, with solicitor, bank, friends, more friends, family, yourself, like whatever, like this is an enormous, like it's hard work. It's really hard work. I feel for people. So hopefully tonight can help people a little bit, even if they can get one of the nuggets of those so many nuggets that you dropped on the ground, Gavin.
Mic drop. So I probably want to just create a little bit more context here. People out there that are entering the market or that are in the market to buy something, look at auction as a very, very open conversation around the value or the ultimate selling price of the home. Don't think of it like you're going into the Colosseum to fight the lions.
Yes.
It's a massive force of efficiency in the negotiation. Rather than going back and forth over days or weeks or whatever it might be, you get to get it all wrapped up and find out whether you get it or not in no time at all. And the more you can discuss it, and the more you can put your strategy together, and the more that you can be prepared and ready and solid on your strategy, the higher your chances are of success and actually getting the outcome that you want.
I think they're great points to end on.
Yeah, you're a beautiful man for giving us your time tonight. Even though I told you I only wanted, I lied. When I said it would only take you 5 minutes, but there was just so much there. It was just so much there. So thank you for your time, taking up your valuable time.
You're most welcome. I'm coming to you from the pantry tonight, so there you go.
Looks like you're in the pantry.
No, I am in the pantry. I seriously am, but that's yeah.
That is gold. That is gold. Hang on. Lisa says Lisa Kramer says thanks, guys. But you know what? I'd love to get in the mind of an auctioneer, never mind someone as experienced as an auctioneer as you are. And I think it's bloody awesome that we could chuck these questions at you tonight and you can answer them, because I think a lot of people consciously, over those thousands of thoughts of buying a property, you've answered some of them.
And just one last thing, I think that auctioneers aren't really scary people. I would encourage any buyers that have got questions about the auction to ask the agent for the auctioneer's number. If you want to ask any questions before you get there, the auctioneer will be happy to talk to you.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a great one. Okay. Say good day to your auctioneer prior to the auction. I love that. Yeah, because you're a bit of a man on the stage. Like, you wouldn't think you could do that. So that's cool.
We've got mobile phones. They work. So.
Gav, signing out. You are a beautiful man. Thank you for your time, Glenn. The most the strategist. I love the way Glenn thinks of the questions. Thank you for tonight.
I'm there.
I enjoyed the show.
Gavin, they call me the heavyweight of DY real estate.
The largest agent in DY.
The largest. Yeah. I was Mr. Beaches, now I'm Mr. Burrito.
DY's greatest moderator, Glenn Higgs. Here he is.
Thank you very much.
Love it.
All
Take
right.
care, guys. Cheers.
Thanks, team.
Cheers.
See ya.
Bye.